My ballet shoes had a sharp pin secretly tucked into them by my stepsister. With just one turn on stage, the point drove deep into my flesh, and bright red blood quickly soaked through the white shoes under the dazzling lights. The pain was so fierce my vision went black. At that very moment, my childhood sweetheart, Zach, dashed onto the stage and scooped me into his arms. His voice was urgent, so unlike his usual gentleness. "Treat her wound first. As for Chloe, I absolutely won't let her off." But later, when the summer camp went up in flames, he turned his back, leaving me in the sea of fire, and risked his life rushing to save her. Yet at the blast site, there wasn't even a trace of my stepsister. The flames devoured me, pain carving through my skin like knives. As my consciousness drifted toward a hazy void, I heard a scream that tore at my heart. "Nessa!" And someone, defying everything, plunged straight into the inferno to drag me out. In the end, who was it? The pain surged like mountains piling one upon another, crushing an endless body with no way out. Suddenly, a familiar song sounded by my ear. "Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you." "Nessa, why are you spacing out? Hurry up and blow the candles." The number 18 candle on the cake flickered. I jolted, cold sweat sliding down my spine. I had been reborn back to 18. The sight of the flame made my heart tremble. My body froze on instinct. Seizing the moment, Chloe puffed once and snuffed out the candle in front of me. As the birthday song ended, the room fell abruptly cold. Chloe smiled in triumph. "I helped you blow the candle. You won't be mad, right?" I folded my arms and my gaze, almost on its own, found a familiar face. Zach, my childhood sweetheart. Only this time he stayed quiet, standing apart as if he were just an onlooker. Those beautiful eyes of his brimmed with worry, but not for me. For Chloe. So all the signs had been there from the start. I had simply trusted too much. Zach was far too slow to see it. I kept silent, and the party grew even more stifling. My eyes dropped to Chloe. Those big, round, pitiful eyes looked exactly like her vixen of a mother's. Why wouldn't I be mad? I reached out, lifted the cake, and slammed it square into her face. So fast everyone froze. They say blowing out someone else's birthday candle is a curse, wishing them an early death. "Little sister, you're so young. How could you be this cruel?" The blunt words, without the slightest detour, cut straight into Chloe's pride. Her eyes flew wide, a serpentine malice flooding them. Seconds later, her eyes went red, and she threw herself into my dad's arms, sobbing miserably, her face smeared with cream, both pitiful and ridiculous. "Nessa, what are you saying?" Dad scolded. "She's still a kid. What's the big deal if she blew your candle for you?" I let out a thin smile. 14 is already the age of criminal responsibility. She's 16. What part of that is still a kid? Dad was at a loss for words. I pressed my palms together and closed my eyes. My first wish was that the curse would rebound on the spot. Hearing that, Chloe burst into even louder, uglier sobs. And Zach, who had always been so aloof, spoke up for the first time, pleading on her behalf. "Just have Chloe apologize. It doesn't need to be this serious." I laughed. "When she cursed me, you didn't say a word. But the moment I returned the favor in her own way, you scolded me." I swirled the wine in my glass, briefly imagining flinging it in his face, but he stepped forward and instinctively shielded Chloe behind him. Looking at him, the face I'd secretly loved for over 10 years, for the first time in my life, I felt only disgust. In truth, when the explosion burned me, I didn't die right away. My whole body was scorched and disfigured, and I lay in the ICU for an entire month. In the end, my mom, unable to bear her daughter's suffering, I had endured too much pain. She herself had taken off my oxygen mask with her own hands. After that, she and Dad collapsed into divorce, and not long after 40, Mom followed me in spirit. As for my father, he was left with only Chloe as his daughter. All the property belonged to her. And Zach. At first he used the pretense of protecting me to take care of Chloe, but after protecting me for a while, they ended up rolling in bed together. The two of them married, had children, and lived a seemingly blissful life. The cruel truth was that the explosion that year had been Chloe's scheme. She had plotted it, betting that Zach would absolutely choose to save her instead of me. And it was exactly as she planned. I was buried in the sea of flames, while the person who barged in to rescue someone was the one who carried the reputation of a top student, then a thug, then a cop. In my previous life, he had pursued me fiercely for many years. Yet in my eyes there was only Zach. Even though Zach and I had never defined our relationship, I had still turned away an entire forest for him. I never expected the person who truly loved me to his bones would be Ethan. After I died, he came to my grave almost every day, standing silently for long stretches. He built countless shrines, donated many schools, and helped innumerable people, all in my name. He once told me he would give up everything just to bring me back to life. Then I really did return. Thinking of that, I looked up, searching for him. Ever since I had rejected him, he always stood in the corner, quietly watching me. This time was no different. I couldn't find him. My heart suddenly panicked and I nearly stumbled on my dress. A large, strong hand caught my waist. When I looked up, my eyes met a pair of pupils, bright and intense, deep and ardent. It was Ethan. "Nessa's waist is so small, I want to hold on just a little longer," came the voice of his heart. No, she'll be scared. Maybe because I had been reborn thanks to him, now I could hear his innermost thoughts. It was almost unbearably endearing. He gently steadied me and immediately let go, but that same hand turned into a fist, and without hesitation, landed a punch squarely on Zach's face. Zach didn't have time to defend himself and collapsed to the floor, clutching his left cheek as he forced himself up, his eyes blazing with fury. "Sorry," I said. "I hit him. You're not allowed to hit back." The trash finally had a chance to be punched, but the blow had been a little light and off-angle. I wanted to do it again. Realizing Ethan was helping me vent, I couldn't help laughing. Zach, quick-witted, caught the implication instantly. His complexion flickered between green and white, looking even more unpleasant. The birthday party went on. I went outside to breathe while Zach busied himself with bandaging and then had to come back to comfort Chloe. Chloe paid me no mind. I stood downstairs, replaying everything that had just happened. It was exactly like the nightmare before I died. Unreal. A whiff of cigarette smoke passed by. I looked up, and to my surprise, saw Ethan. He'd always been a bit of a bad boy type, so it wasn't strange to see the red ember of a cigarette between his fingers. The sight made a memory jolt through me. The flames surged again, and I swayed. Bookmark back. Oh no, if Nessa catches me smoking. Panicking, he clamped his hand over the tip of the cigarette while it was still burning. I lunged forward, grabbed his hand, and pulled it away. Sure enough, there was a red burn mark. "What are you doing? You're burned and you don't even know it?" Oh my God, Nessa is holding my hand," he said, still with that arrogant, indifferent posture, but inside he was wildly stirred. "Come on, I'll take you to get it bandaged." I tried to pull him away, but he didn't budge. Ethan suddenly grew serious, looked at me, and spoke slowly. "You still have 2 wishes, right?" I was startled. How did I still have 2 wishes left unspoken? "Yes." He nodded firmly. He looked a bit absent-minded, yet exactly like a loyal knight. I rose onto my toes and pressed a gentle kiss to his lips. This was the second wish. Ethan's flirtatious eyes darkened at his throat. He rolled the tip of his tongue and even licked the corner of his mouth. "So what about the third wish?" Just then, Zach stepped out of the banquet room, jacket on, and I could see the ring tucked in the left pocket. He'd planned to use it to confess to me. Today he came forward with all the confidence in the world, only his face still bore bruises, making him look almost like a clown. Right in front of him, I darted straight into Ethan's arms. "Ethan, will you be my boyfriend?" I asked. "Really? For real?" His surprised, delighted look was unbearably cute, and I couldn't help myself. I rose onto my toes and kissed him again gently. "From now on you're my boyfriend, no backing out, okay?" The moment the words left my mouth, a strong hand snatched me, pressing my back against the wall. A fierce kiss crashed down. Finally, Ethan's kisses were mine. Not long after, his phone rang. One of his buddies calling. "Wow, all that effort finally paid off. You actually dug through that old wall and got her. Get out of here." Ethan hung up with a clearly excellent mood. He'd been digging and digging in that tiny corner, and in the end he carried me home. Zach stood there stunned, his expression growing darker and darker. His fingers clenched the fabric of his jacket until it went white, radiating a cold, low-pressure chill. I didn't pay him any mind. I pulled Ethan upstairs to put ointment on his burn. Passing the doorway, my wrist was suddenly gripped tightly and painfully. Before I could react, Ethan swept that hand away and pulled me close, holding me as if he resented anyone who dared touch me. Zach looked at me with eyes full of grief. Nessa, you and him. Ethan's arms slung over my shoulders, his body was stiff and trembling, unable to hide it. I guessed he was afraid that I was with him on a whim, only trying to make Zach jealous. I smiled brightly and laid my hand on his waist. Unexpectedly, that slim-looking waist was surprisingly firm. His eyes went wide. Oh no, she touched his waist. Is he too skinny? I have to train more tonight, I said casually. Ethan and I are together now. Wish us luck. Ah, Zach. Big brother Zach. I said the two words, Big brother Zach, deliberately slowly. He's only a few months older than me. Ever since we were little, I used to follow him around, calling him that so affectionately that strangers would chuckle and call us an adorable little pair. But later, when Chloe showed up and asked Zach, Big brother Zach, are you in love with Nessa? His answer was always that we were just siblings. Maybe in that moment, whether he loved me or not was already obvious, yet I still didn't understand why he could so calmly enjoy my feelings. If he didn't love me that much, why would he still want to keep me by his side? Zach stood blocking the doorway and was about to speak when there was a loud clatter from the room and Chloe's scream. It turned out she had accidentally knocked over the champagne tower. Zach immediately lunged forward and wrapped her in his arms, carefully checking for injuries. Chloe's face went pale, but she still managed to look up at me challengingly. A fleeting, smug smile crossed her lips, and I couldn't help but smile back. She'd always been good at petty tricks like this to grab the attention of the men around me, and unfortunately both my father and Zach fell for them so easily. How careless could that kid be? My father scolded her with words but acted with extreme tenderness. He immediately took off his jacket and draped it over Chloe. She lifted her wet, tear-streaked face toward Zach and mumbled, "Sister, I'm sorry. It was all my clumsiness," then bowed her head and covered her face, sobbing. I unconsciously tightened the arms wrapped around Ethan. Deep in my subconscious, I knew that people who cared about me were always easily pulled toward her. Ethan lightly patted my shoulder to comfort me, the corner of his mouth curling into a cocky smile. His tone carried a hint of scorn. "Clumsy, really? Even my family's dog at a party would never topple a champagne tower," he said with a sharp look and a mocking lilt. "I heard you're 16 now. Maybe get your cerebellum checked. Is something wrong with it?" After saying that, he turned his head, his face full of undisguised disgust. But the thing was, he was an only son backed by powerful influence, so the whole room fell silent. No one dared contradict him. Right then I could hear Ethan's private thought, "Oh God, my allergy to idiots is acting up again. I honestly wanted to hit someone." The corner of my mouth twitched into a smile, so that person had resolutely chosen me, and being openly protected in front of everyone felt unexpectedly warm. I held out my hand. Ethan obediently sat on the edge of my bed, his whole body stiff, his back off the headboard as if bracing himself. Ah, so tense, I thought. This isn't my room, behave, don't stare around. At my silent cue, he immediately set his large hand into mine. In that moment, I felt an odd familiarity, like training a puppy. Sure enough, there was a red burn mark on his palm. "Does it hurt?" I asked and gently rubbed ointment on it. His face flushed and he stared at the ceiling to avoid meeting my eyes. I could almost hear the thoughts running through him. "My skin's thick, I don't really feel it, but Ness is applying ointment to me. Her hand is so soft, so smooth. I'm getting antsy. Maybe I should pretend it hurts." "Nessa's V-neck dress is really pretty, but don't bend down so low when you put on ointment. For things that require bending, I'll do them for her." Hearing every one of those thoughts made my face glow. I sat up straight, a warm feeling rising in my chest. I suddenly remembered the time Zach and I went to the beach. I'd worn a backless spaghetti-strap dress and wanted to take some nice photos. A few male tourists glanced at me as they passed. Zach immediately took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders. "Wearing that little? Who are you planning to show it to?" He scolded with a reprimanding tone that was also caring. Our friends teased that he was jealous. I obediently wore his jacket and stood with everyone for photos, but later, when I looked at that picture, my smile felt forced and insincere. For a long time after that, I didn't dare wear revealing clothes. Until today, a few of Ethan's private comments had completely chased those worries away. Hide a flower so no one gawks, or guard it so it can bloom brilliantly. The flower itself gives the clearest answer. I leaned closer and studied the impulsive young man in front of me, his face flushed all the way to his ears, smooth and tense as if it might burst, and yet he didn't dare look me directly in the eye. On a teasing impulse, after I finished applying the ointment, I lightly scratched his palm. Ethan startled. His Adam's apple bobbed, and his eyes locked onto me. Even with the window open, the room felt hot and oppressively stuffy. "Nessa, what are you doing?" he murmured. Just then someone knocked at the door. My mother. Ethan panicked and tumbled to the floor. I hurriedly shoved him under the table. It wasn't anything indecent, yet he looked flustered as if caught in the act. "Nessa, go get ready for the family photo, okay?" my mother called. I scrambled out, leaving Ethan hiding beneath the table. His face so red it looked like it might explode. He must have been praying my aunt wouldn't misunderstand and think this was an affair. He sat there, lost in thought. My mother took my hand and spoke gently to soothe me. "A lot happened at today's birthday party. Don't let it weigh on your heart. Tomorrow I'll take you out," Mom said. Watching her thin back, my nose stung. Whenever Mom was with me, every birthday became the best birthday. In the crowd, she finally spotted my dad. "Come here, let's take a family photo," she called. My father looked up, his first reaction guilt. Only after confirming Chloe wasn't standing nearby did he hurry over. Chloe had been the daughter he had with another woman. Her mother died in a car accident, and he brought her home for my mom to raise. From then on, my mom lived like a stepmother in hardship, and for years, she and I endured all kinds of grievances. Taking a family photo with just the three of us had always been my birthday tradition. This year, as we lined up in place, Chloe suddenly rushed forward. "Dad, my hand hurts." She held up her left arm, blood trickling down, and her tears flowed even more than the blood. "Didn't I tell you to let the maid clean up the glass shards? Why would you rush in like that?" My father scolded, but his steps already quickened toward her. I grabbed his sleeve. "Dad, today is my birthday. Can we finish the family photo first?" A flicker of hesitation crossed his eyes. Chloe gave a smile uglier than crying. "It's fine, Dad. You two go ahead, capture that whole family blessing." Her next words, muttered softly, cut deeper. If only I had a mom too. Then she turned and bolted out. My dad panicked, called after Chloe, and hurried off after her. In my past life, this birthday had been ruined by Chloe. My mood turned awful, and I even quarreled bitterly with Mom. Back then, she had wanted to tell me something, but I'd only shut myself in my room, refusing to listen. Now, seeing the sadness on her face, I realized the one truly unhappy wasn't me, it was her. Because she was my mother, she had to bear more, endure more. She patted my shoulder gently. "It's okay, Nessa. We'll wait for your dad to come back and then take the picture." Under the bright lights, I noticed strands of gray in her hair. She used to smile so much. Her face never carried these deep lines. She must have been exhausted all these years. I turned and wrapped my arms around her. "It's fine, Mom. Just the two of us. We can take the photo together. How long does one picture take anyway?" My father was busy chasing Chloe, clearly unconcerned about us. If that's the case, then we didn't need him anymore. I pulled the man standing near Mom closer. "Uncle Andrew, take a photo with us." Mom and Andrew had been childhood sweethearts. When they were young, both proud and bright, until my father forced his way in and she married him instead. Andrew never wed, treating me as his own daughter, perhaps still carrying his own regrets. Mom had always held quiet affection for him too. Because of this, I'd gradually grown fond of Zach. All these years, Andrew had cared for Mom, but always within proper boundaries, restrained by courtesy. Seeing her live an unhappy life, he must have felt bitter too. At my words, Andrew smiled and stepped forward, though Mom's face still carried some shyness. I stood in the middle, quietly pulling the two of them closer together. That night, after Mom and I had washed up and prepared for bed, my dad suddenly remembered the family photo. "Nessa, call your mom and come down. Let's add the picture now." Toweling my hair, I replied, "No need anymore. Not now, not ever again." When I returned to the room, Mom was sitting on the bed, waiting. "Nessa, I have something I want to discuss with you." Just like in my past life, at this moment she was already thinking of divorce. Back then, I didn't understand her pain, leaving her to suffer years more of grievance. Nessa, what do you think? Her voice was so soft, almost pleading. My eyes stung. I threw myself into her arms. Mom, you've suffered enough all these years. She wept. Something I rarely saw. So even mothers feel wronged sometimes. End this marriage, Mom. And not just that. We have to take back everything that rightfully belongs to us. Over the years, my father built the company using my mother's capital and family connections. In truth, 8/10 of the shares legally belonged to her. In my previous life, Mom and I died too soon, leaving the assets to fall into Chloe's hands. Thinking of that made my chest boil with fury. Mom wiped her tears and stroked my hair, a determined smile on her face. We must take it all back. She tossed a stack of photos into my hands, pictures of my father looking tender with another woman. The woman looked unnervingly familiar. Wasn't that Dora, Chloe's foster mother, who's also close to Chloe's biological mother? And now she was scrambling to insert herself. I wondered how Chloe would react if she knew. People don't change their nature. When Chloe's status as his illegitimate child came out, my father knelt and wept and begged for forgiveness, but it didn't last long. He fell back into his old habits. Men who chase many women are hard to pin down in words. In my memory, my mother had always been gentle and mild. I never expected her to quietly, secretly plan something this big. I couldn't help giving her a thumbs up and almost burst into song. For all the love that endured pain, for all the hate that carved those wounds, she persisted. Just as she was about to leave the room, she stopped, eyes flashing. That handsome kid hiding under your desk, his name is Ethan, right? I saw everything. My face flushed. Ah, he's just a classmate. Mom nodded. I think he's a good one, has way more potential than that Zach. After saying that, she walked out and Chloe politely closed the door for me, leaving me sitting there red as if I might bleed. Thinking of Ethan, I noticed a scrap of paper left on the desk. Hello, ma'am. I'm Ethan. I was burned. Your kind daughter helped me apply ointment. We didn't do anything else, I swear. Someone had even drawn a little doodle of a tiny person raising a hand to swear. Oh my, since when did Ethan become this adorable? My phone lit up with a WeChat friend request from him. Hey, accept it. A message followed. What's up? I replied, nothing. Just that boyfriends should have their girlfriends on WeChat, right? I opened his profile and scrolled. His friends list was public, but he didn't post much. The most striking thing was a public photo, today's picture of us kissing. Should I praise his photography skills or the flattering light? It was simply beautiful, like it read my thoughts. Another message popped up. So you like the public pic? Not bad. You must have put effort into it. Oh no, what am I even saying? Silence hung for a moment. Am I not focused enough? He asked. Next time I'll put all my heart into it, I promise, he replied. Suddenly I felt like an innocent, blushing girl, casually chatting with Ethan. A few offhand lines filled the waiting room with pink bubbles. Neither of us wanted to be the one to end the conversation. He sent good night several times. I fell asleep later than usual, but my heart felt inexplicably sweet. The next morning when I stepped outside, Zach's car was parked right in front of the house. Usually he'd sit in the car and wait, but today he was wearing the jacket I'd once given him. He has a neighborly, handsome face, the gentle, clean big brother type, and just standing there made girls look back. When he saw me, he stepped forward to take the breakfast I'd brought. I was carrying Nessa's breakfast for him to hold. Previously, Zach's breakfasts had always been prepared by me. I used to think that loving someone meant caring for them wholeheartedly, while he took it for granted. I lifted my hand to pull away. Thanks, Zach, but no need. This wasn't prepared for you. He froze, a flash of loss in his eyes. Just then, a clear voice rang out. Zach, Nessa, it's my turn to sit in the back seat today. Without waiting for a reply, Chloe quickly climbed into the back. The three of us had always argued over who got to sit up front with Zach. I wanted that seat and so did Chloe, until we came up with the rule of taking turns. I shook my head. Was it really worth fighting over? Zach blocked my way. Nessa, are you mad at me? No, it's just not worth being mad anymore. The roar of a motorcycle engine cut off our conversation. Before Zach could speak, a motorbike screeched to a stop in front of me. Ethan sat astride it, helmet on, his cocky, glowing eyes the only thing visible. He didn't spare Zach a glance, just raised his brows at me, wordlessly telling me to get on. Smiling, I took his hand and stepped past Zach. I knew perfectly well that behind his aloof face, Ethan was bursting with joy, probably humming a tune inside. As we rode past Zach's parked car, Chloe stuck her head out, eyes sparkling. Nessa, who's that guy? His bike is so cool. Can he take me to school tomorrow? I go to South High. It's close to your school. At once, the melody inside Ethan's heart came to a stop. His brows furrowed sharply. Did you go get your cerebellum checked yesterday? If not, maybe check your brain while you're at it, he snapped, completely ignoring Chloe. Instead, he leaned down and carefully fastened my helmet strap. We're dating. We don't need a calculating third wheel. Chloe's bright smile froze. She wilted like a shriveled eggplant. Zach lowered his head, and when he looked up, his eyes were red. Perhaps he suddenly remembered how he had treated me every time Chloe fought me for attention. The truth was, Chloe never truly loved him. She only liked snatching away the men beside me. After all, her mother had survived by stealing men, and Chloe had learned the habit early. It was my first time on the back of a motorcycle, and I was nervous. But the moment I thought of who was holding the handlebars, Ethan, the fear vanished by half. I wrapped my arms around his waist and rested my cheek against his solid shoulder. This time, I didn't hear his scattered inner thoughts, only the pounding of his heart, strong and hot, like midday sun. At the parking lot, Ethan's crew was already waiting. The moment I climbed off, they all jumped up to greet me. Hey, sister-in-law. First time the boss has ever carried anyone on that baby of his. You're even prettier than in the picture. How old are you? What's your major? A whole gang of rough-looking boys turned out to be surprisingly warm and enthusiastic, bombarding me with questions until I felt dizzy. Ethan locked his bike and pulled me protectively behind him. All right, you'll have time to get to know her later. The noise died down. He tilted his head toward me and held out a small box. Here, breakfast. For you. His eyes lit up, his face glowing as if he'd been given the world. I rose onto my toes, whispered in his ear, "Don't like it?" Ethan swallowed hard, his gaze glued to my lips. I laughed, spun around, and dashed away. Oops, I'm going to be late. See you later. On the way to class, I noticed plenty of eyes on me, some shyly averting, others whispering. Nessa, you're here. Something big happened. My roommate yanked me into a corner, flustered. Have you checked the forum yet? Hurry, open it. I pulled it up. My name sat at the very top of the trending list. South High's campus beauty, flirtatious and shameless. In the video, I was wearing that red V-neck dress, my pale skin glowing like some seductive enchantress. Yes, alluring, maybe even a little provocative. But the clip had been cut. All the conversations with Zach and Ethan were gone, leaving only moments of touch and one single line from me. Be my boyfriend, I said. The effect was ridiculous. There I was, saying the same line to two people at once, and even I had to laugh. Could I still laugh when the comments below were full of curses at me? I couldn't help but find the whole thing comical, ridiculous schemes from my stepsister. Clips like that, stitched together without any footage from our home cameras, how could they have one? Maybe she figured that even if she really staged something, no one would dare call her out. While I scrolled, I saved every piece of evidence. My roommate gaped, then shook me and warned, don't just sit there. Save the posts showing cyberbullying as proof. In the comments, a new thread blew up fast. Hot topic. Some guy claims he hooked up with Nessa, the South High campus beauty. How did Ethan feel? Spill the tea, bro. The back rows of boys in class who always pretended to be pure began shouting filthy things. Freshman Lin Shi-Kwang, who once chased me and held a grudge after I rejected him, took this chance to humiliate me. The recorded confession he posted was indeed from his hand. He sat surrounded by male classmates, each lewd line sending the group into raucous laughter, their petty gazes sweeping toward me. My roommate, furious, stepped in. What are you doing? Slander is a crime. But they just sneered. You did it, you won't even say it? What do you know about slander? And burst into mocking laughter. My friend was so angry she started to cry. I patted her back to comfort her and stepped out, feeling weak and bewildered. I grabbed Lin Chi-Kwang's arm, his eyes were wet. Classmate, are all the things Lin Chi-Kwang said true? Oh my God, why don't I remember anything? I insisted. I must have been drugged without knowing. I have to report this to the police. You're all witnesses. Stand up for me. Lin Chiquang, all bluff and bluster, was suddenly cornered. Before he could react, I submitted the evidence and filed the report. Then I burst out of class, crying and screaming, "I can't live like this! I can't live like this!" The situation escalated instantly. Classmates who had been watching folded their arms, now scrambled to alert the instructor. I didn't run randomly. I went straight to South High, where Chloe attended, because once a rumor spreads, whether true or false, the label is hard to erase. Rather than spend my time just explaining, I wanted to tear apart whoever set this trap. "Hello, teacher. I'm Tanessa. The stepsister, Chloe, is in Class A. She secretly brought a phone to school. I'm here to get it back." South High was strict, and the homeroom teacher experienced. She snapped her book shut and assumed a stern stance. Immediately, Chloe's phone and several classmates' devices flashed. My suspicion was right. It wasn't just one person, but a group colluding at school. Chloe always played obedient. When the teacher confiscated the phone, she didn't dare resist. I took the phone, first saving evidence, then deleted the original post to cut off the source, stopping the spread while public opinion hadn't yet flooded beyond recovery. Kill it at the root. I didn't want nationwide notoriety this way. After the posts were deleted, the hashtag South High's Campus Beauty Tanessa briefly climbed higher due to search volume, but I uploaded the full, unedited video. When the truth became known, the narrative shifted. Many netizens noticed the malicious edits and turned to hunt down who'd started the rumors. Chloe's private background was quickly exposed. She was her mother's child, and her mother had survived by relying on men. Lin Chiquang, the guy who'd confessed and failed, had created countless fake accounts to smear me, and they were all revealed. They'd planned to use an uninformed crowd to satisfy their dirty purposes, but in the end they had to swallow the bitter fruit they sowed. Even though I handled things promptly, gossip spread fast across South High. For a pretty female student, even the smallest mark gets endlessly magnified. On the way back to class, I heard girls whispering behind me, "Look, that's her. Pure my foot. At school she rejects Ethan. At home she's licking his boots. Totally not fit for our Ethan." It turned out those comments were from Ethan's fans. I pulled out my phone. A stream of messages and missed calls flashed up. 9 out of 10 from him. Oh no, I'd forgotten to tell him I was okay. I was about to call back when my roommate grabbed my arm and dragged me off. "Hurry, Ethan is beating up Lin Chiquang." When I arrived, Lin Chiquang was curled on the ground begging pitifully, "Don't hit me. Please stop. I won't do it again. Ethan didn't say a word. His eyes were bloodshot and he licked his dry lips. He stepped forward slowly and kicked once, hard enough to make Lin Chiquang groan but not speak. I rushed to wrap my arms around Ethan. "Don't hit him. This is filthy." His body went stiff, and after a long moment he slowly turned to me. His expression softened immediately, but he was still too angry to hug me. "Why didn't you pick up? Why didn't you answer my messages? Do you know how worried I was?" "I'm sorry. I thought it was a small thing, nothing you should be troubled about," I replied, and Ethan half laughed at my downplaying. "Do you know how scared I was that something real might happen to you?" "I'm sorry," I murmured, tugging his sleeve in a childlike way. "I promise, I'll make sure nothing like today happens again." Oh my, Nessa acting all cutesy, needing to be reminded to be steady and to tell him next time before doing something risky. Hearing my inner thought, I deliberately scooted closer and gave his hand a little shake. "I know I was wrong, but you've got to trust that I can handle things. Didn't I deal with it well?" Unable to hold back, Ethan tightened his arms around me and sighed deeply. His voice dropped low and urgent, like a plea. "Don't do that again." At that moment the school counselor arrived. Hearing that, Lin Chiquang, suddenly terrified, began shrieking, "Teacher, please help me. Ethan beat me. Don't let him get away with it." Ethan only flexed his arm slightly, and Lin Chiquang shrank back into a corner, terrified. The counselor had indeed come to handle the matter. After verification, she promptly announced that Lin Chiquang had fabricated obscene rumors and slandered a classmate, and the school would expel him immediately. "Teacher, what about Ethan hitting me? Why isn't that being handled?" Lin Chiquang cried. South High is a prestigious school. Lin Chiquang had barely passed the entrance exam and now faced expulsion, so he tried to pull someone else down with him. The counselor pushed up her glasses and pointed at him. He's a troublemaker unaffiliated with this school. Voices around echoed the same. He's not even a student here. He's some thug who made up stories. This doesn't concern our school, she said. Next time, if you want to do something righteous, be mindful of limits. Thank you, teacher. Today was more than enough, someone murmured. That evening after classes, Zach came looking for me. He handed me a cup of milk tea, green jasmine, the flavor Chloe liked best. I took it and set it aside, then looked up and asked if something was wrong. He fumbled with the strap of his bag, hesitated for a moment, and then began to speak. Today, don't keep it to yourself, trust me. I finished the last exercise, stood up, and gathered my books. Thanks, I'm fine. So what they said, was it true? He pressed. Weren't you the one who told me to believe you? Now he was asking my opinion. Did those people say the one you like is actually me, and because Ethan chased you so hard you only stayed with him? I laughed and nodded. Yes. So what? His eyes lit up and he grabbed my hand, voice steady. Nessa, I want to win you back. I pulled my hand away and handed the milk tea back to him. Zach, you know what I hate most? Jasmine milk tea. Give it to Chloe, she loves it. A flash of surprise crossed his face. Right, Chloe's the youngest, so everyone always gives in to her. They give so much she even takes away, finding myself. The door burst open as Ethan's boys rushed in, quickly separating me and Zach. Little sister-in-law, the boss is waiting for you out on the court. Someone called. The late summer sun dropped, the breeze warm and soft. Someone patted my shoulder, and I turned to see a brilliant rose in front of me. On the way to the court, people kept handing me flowers until, by the time I arrived, I was nearly staggering under a huge bouquet. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Everyone sang. From out of sight, Ethan pushed forward a 3-tier birthday cake toward me. Tiny candles flickered on it like an 18-year-old halo. When the birthday song ended, everyone smiled and cried out, Happy birthday. My throat tightened. I was so moved I couldn't speak. You guys, what are you doing? Didn't I already have a party yesterday? Ethan's eyes shone and reflected only me. Yesterday someone else did that for you. Today I wanted to do it. In that instant, the regret from my 18th birthday faded, replaced by a beautiful new memory created by this boy who looked at me so fully. Don't flatter the little sister-in-law so much. Share a slice with us. Ethan finished speaking, and on impulse, tore off a piece and lobbed it at one of his buddies. The playful joke quickly exploded into a full-on cake fight. While Ethan shielded me, I secretly grabbed a piece of cake I'd stashed and smeared it onto his face. Before I could finish laughing, his mouth covered mine in a sudden kiss. Night fell and the lights dimmed, his silhouette blurred in the dusk. Ethan released my waist, dropped to one knee, and took from his jacket a translucent jade bracelet. His voice trembled but was resolute. Nessa, will you be my girlfriend? I'm keeping this jade bracelet my mother left so that one day I could give it to my daughter-in-law. Take it as a token and I'll be with you for life. Yes, yes, the crowd roared. I nodded, tears spilling down my cheeks. As Ethan slipped the bracelet onto my wrist, the sky flared. Not with fireworks, but with a swarm of moons, lighting up and blooming like countless flowers of fire. He knew I might panic at real flames, so he used technology to replace fireworks. I leaned against him and watched the breathtaking display. But you already agreed to me yesterday. Ethan held me tight. That yes was a cue for me to move forward, but love has to start with a real confession. I'll use my actions to silence all the rumors. You're good, Ethan. You deserve it, I whispered, and then, almost without thinking, I murmured, I like you. The light show drew a large crowd, all eyes on us as the night wrapped around that perfect moment. Chloe and Zach arrived soon after, but both of them looked terrible. Give me back my phone, I demanded. Even if you tell Dad, he can't do anything to me. Chloe snapped, swinging the phone in her hand with a smug smile. Fine, let's see you try. Over the next few weeks, Chloe lived in constant fear. Because I hadn't immediately exposed her, she became more cautious and treated me with noticeably more politeness. Of course, I wasn't in any rush. I was waiting for the right moment. Meanwhile, the photos and videos of me with Ethan spread everywhere. From the camera angles to the lighting, everything looked cinematic. The handsome couple quickly attracted a flood of fans and spontaneous support. Sometimes people even shipped me with Zach on the old childhood friend angle. Ethan outwardly acted unchanged, but inside he grumbled. Being paired with Zach would make more sense. He also muttered, "This edit is well done, buy an ad package to boost it." Fortunately, the fabricated rumor was eventually buried under the surge of interest in the genuine footage, and the scandal cooled down. Ethan and I gradually returned to our normal rhythm, sitting together in the library studying for finals. One seemingly ordinary weekend, Mom drove Chloe and me home, and we unexpectedly walked into a shocking scene. Dad and Chloe's foster aunt were naked and tangled together in bed. Chloe had opened the door and went white as a sheet. "What the hell? Why now? Didn't you say they went to Disney? Isn't it even worse that they're at home?" Chloe stood frozen. My father panicked while the other woman scrambled to cover herself and run, but Chloe grabbed her hair. "Auntie, how could you treat me like this?" she screamed. A chaotic, vicious fight erupted. Exactly the scene my mother and I had planned. Just as Chloe and my father were arguing at their loudest, I coldly threw in a spark. I exposed the lies she'd used to frame me, pouring oil on the fire. I gave my father an actual daughter to reckon with, and let Chloe see her biological father's true face. When my mother learned the truth of how I had been slandered, she clutched me in a painful embrace and then confronted the unfaithful man. "Tuck him on," she declared. "I'm ending this marriage. I want a divorce, definitely." Caught in the act for the first time, he signed the papers, packed up, and left empty-handed, taking the foul-minded girl with him. "Don't leave anything of yours in my house," my mother told him. With Uncle Andrew's help, we found the best lawyer, and my mother's divorce went smoothly. The house and its contents were auctioned off, leaving my mother and me feeling only disgust. Chloe went mad, screaming, "It's you, isn't it? You set this up?" She tried to slap me, but my mother blocked and then struck back. "If I wanted to beat you, I would," my mother hissed. "How dare you mistreat my daughter? If I hadn't taken you in, who would have raised you? Ungrateful wretch, you show your face here again and I'll strike you every time." My mother stood proud and fierce, refusing to meet cruelty with meekness. The more you yielded, the more they pushed. Coincidentally, South High was holding its 10th anniversary celebration, inviting 10 outstanding alumni to perform. Zach had a grade 10 piano certificate. I held a grade 8 ballet certificate. The school arranged for us to perform, one playing, one dancing. When I received the notice, Zach personally came to pick me up for rehearsal. "Nessa, let's try a run-through," he suggested, while Ethan watched beside us, grinding his teeth in annoyance. "It's not like I only know piano," Ethan muttered, tousling his messy hair. "I can play guitar just as well." I laughed and smoothed his unruly bangs. "No need. Either way, I won't be able to finish this performance." Because I knew Chloe would slip sharp pins into my ballet shoes, and before the show began, she'd fake a fainting spell to lure Zach away. Without musical accompaniment, I'd try to dance alone, only to have my foot torn open by the pins. That year, our performance turned into the biggest disaster of the ceremony. After practice, Zach suddenly turned to me. "I know you're an incredible dancer. Can I say something?" Ethan curled his lip, pretending not to care. "Do what you want. I've got things to do. Call me when you're done, I'll come pick you up." Oh God, what's Zach trying now? Cutting in like this isn't right. Nessa won't leave me, will she? I tiptoed and kissed Ethan's forehead. "I'll wait for you." In the practice room, with the sunlight slanting through, even dust motes looked dreamy. Zach played. I danced. Each note, each movement fit together seamlessly, as if we were back in childhood. He playing, me dancing. When practice ended, I called for Ethan, but Zach held me back and pulled out a bracelet strung with little seashells, the trinket I had treasured most as a child. "This was yours, wasn't it?" I took it. The tiny shells glistened under the light, pulling a rush of childhood memories from my heart. "It's mine? Why do you have it?" His face flickered with pain. "Chloe told me it was hers." I gave a cold smile. "Oh, and so what?" He hurried to stop me from leaving, pulling out a ring, the same one he'd once planned to confess with years ago. "Nessa, I like you. On your birthday back then I wanted to tell you." My answer was short. My indifference stunned him. He wilted, spirit gone. "I'm sorry, Nessa. I really don't understand you. Don't you trust me? I've treated you so well. Everyone knows I like you. Did you really need to ask me? Did you lose your voice? You suspected Chloe lied, but you never came to me. Or did you think that by hesitating, by not choosing, you could just keep enjoying the affection I gave you? My words stabbed at his weakness. Zach stood frozen, silent. All done? Let's go eat. Ethan's carefree laugh rang out. He swung my backpack off my shoulder. So what do you want? Hot pot? Before we could leave, a voice called behind me. Nessa, can we still be friends? Ethan hesitated. I didn't even look back. Zach, I already have plenty of good friends. On the day of the anniversary performance, I showed up without even bothering to change ballet shoes. Nessa, it's almost our turn. Aren't you changing your shoes? Zach asked. I glanced at the clock. Oh no, Chloe fainted. Quick, go check. Zach hesitated, eyes flicking from me to the time, then gritted his teeth. Nessa, I'll check quickly and be right back. I laughed bitterly. Even with a second chance, nothing had changed. Just then, a pair of bright red ballet shoes appeared before my eyes. A deep, husky voice drawled, Princess Nessa, want to try rock ballet? I slipped on the shoes Ethan had given me, and, with the beat of heavy rock music, strode onto the stage. The audience gasped. Oh my God, isn't that Ethan? Ah, Ethan looks so handsome, and Nessa's stunning. Though he was famous as a school troublemaker, Ethan's fame had never been any less than Zach's, and his charisma, carefree and a little reckless, now looked utterly serious as he broke into rock on stage, making everyone thrill at the powerful contrast. The moment the first note rang out, the whole hall exploded with rock and ballet. Two passions, one wild, one refined, somehow blending perfectly, strange and irresistibly magnetic. On stage our eyes met, my heart hammered as if it would burst from my chest. By the time the piece ended, applause and cheers rose like a tidal wave. Zach hurried back, but found me already taking Ethan's hand as we bowed to the audience. My old ballet slippers had been taken by the principal's daughter for the performance, and as fate would have it, had been sabotaged with pins, resulting in injury. The school administration immediately checked the cameras, exposed Chloe's dirty trick, and publicly reprimanded her. If not for my father's money shielding her, she would have been expelled long ago. That night at the celebration party, I noticed Ethan's fingers were red and raw. What's wrong with your fingers? The boys teased. Little sister-in-law's new dancing shoes fit all right? Ethan tapped a friend's hand with his chopsticks and growled, Shut up. It turned out he had worn his hands down bit by bit to break in the new shoes so they wouldn't hurt me. My chest warmed. I secretly took his hand and stroked it. Thank you, I said. His palm was so big it easily enclosed mine. Silly, you don't need to say thanks to us, he grunted. Away from a bad father and a manipulative stepsister and severing ties with the hesitant Zach, my life finally brightened like the sun. People often say you only notice when someone leaves. I realized my world had no real storms of its own. Every tempest and pain had been brought by toxic people. Ethan discovered I was terrified of fire, and each week he took me to see a psychologist. With his encouragement, the phobia eased, and I no longer panicked like before. Mom and Uncle Andrew's relationship was quietly growing, just waiting for the thin paper of propriety to be pierced. It was sweeter, maybe even more passionate than what I had with Ethan. Everything was moving in the right direction. Then everything changed. I returned to summer camp thinking that Chloe, coming from a poor, indebted home, wouldn't be allowed to join. To my surprise, she managed to get into the support staff and was assigned, along with Ethan and me, to be a counselor. After going over the rules, I smiled. If you have any problems, you can come find head counselor Nessa or head counselor Ethan. A student piped up. Does head counselor Nessa have a boyfriend? Kids that age loved teasing. Ethan heard and immediately slung an arm around my shoulders, publicly declaring, Head counselor Nessa's boyfriend is me. After camp that day, I saw Chloe cleaning. She flashed that sickly sweet smile I knew all too well, the signal something nasty was coming. Sis, I miss you so much. Too bad you don't remember me, she cooed. I curled my lip. Don't call me sis. My mother never had another daughter. The last night of camp was supposed to have fireworks, and that was when Chloe set her plot in motion and triggered the explosion. I reviewed the checklist, fireworks quality checks and ignition locations, and marked, please double verify several more times. I planned to find an excuse to avoid the opening, but suddenly Ethan leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Nessa, do you want to do something crazy?" Before I could answer, he grabbed my hand and ran, sprinting all the way to the shore. The sea wind whistled past. The only thing I could hold tightly was Ethan's hand. "You're strong already, Nessa. If you don't like fireworks, you don't have to watch," he said. It turned out he'd pulled me away because he worried I'd be terrified. His clear eyes reflected the fireworks sky, summer, and my silhouette. He smiled, leaned down, and kissed me. "Nessa, I love you." Even though everything had been checked carefully, Chloe still acted, and the explosion happened. Fortunately, the spot where I should have been standing was empty. The one most seriously injured turned out to be Chloe. When the ambulance arrived, people were still buzzing. Why did she run right into the blast? Don't even mention it. When they found Uyen wasn't there, Chloe nearly went insane and flung herself into the spot. Chloe was badly burned, but compared with my previous life, it was still lighter. She woke up a week later, wrapped head to toe like a mummy, and insisted on seeing me. If not for Dad kneeling and begging, I probably wouldn't have bothered to go. No sooner had I reached the door of her room than I heard Ethan's voice. "You think this is the end for messing with Nessa? Know your place. This time I'm being lenient because you're Nessa's stepsister. Next time I won't hold back." Chloe croaked a few times. Her voice was hoarse like a crow's. "You think my sister only hates me? If she knew your background, would she still hate you?" Ethan paused, then let out a sharp laugh. "What background do you think I have?" Chloe hissed, eyes vicious. "What do you have to be proud of? Aren't you like me, an illegitimate child? Why pretend to be kind in front of my sister?" A torrent of news hit me so hard, I went mute for a moment. The Can family. Didn't they have more than one son? Ethan walked to the window, his voice low and somber. "Do you know why I'm illegitimate? Because my brother was born with a congenital disease and needed a bone marrow transplant. I, little Chu, was born with a strong life force. That's why that silhouette always felt familiar." The late sun fell across Ethan's shoulders, and suddenly a memory came back to me. That summer, after I pulled Zach from the water and had the adults take him to the hospital, I was still a child and ran off unnoticed to play. In the garden, there was a chubby boy standing with his back to me, looking very sad. I stood behind the fence and asked, "Why are you upset?" The chubby boy frowned. "I'm hungry. My food isn't tasty." I ran home and brought him a pile of snacks. We ate and laughed together. That night, screams echoed from the house next door, and their family came to warn mine not to let their child eat junk anymore. "If you don't feed him, he's sick, you know." The boy shook his head. "No, that's not it. My brother is sick and needs my marrow." "Does it hurt?" I asked. He only nodded. A while later, he said simply, "It's okay. After all, I exist because of my brother. I ate so well yesterday. Thanks." I told him seriously that no one is born to sacrifice themselves entirely for someone else, unless that person agrees. I pushed the hospital room door open and said firmly, "Ethan, go home." Chloe tried to lunge forward, but her body was immobilized by bandages and she couldn't move. "On what basis? On what basis do you think you deserve what you get without effort, when I've worked so hard for what I have? This isn't fair. This isn't fair." Ethan immediately stepped in front of me, worried she might harm me, but that very move made Chloe even angrier. I gently pulled Ethan's hand and walked forward calmly. "Unfair? Then tell me, on what basis have you benefited? For years you've pretended to be innocent while relying on my father's favoritism to do all kinds of disgusting things. Don't you know how much my parents poured into you compared to me? You even stole Zach from me, and then you set an explosion to try to kill me. Chloe, don't be so shameless. Your mother, the mistress, died in a car accident. As for you ending up like that, it has nothing to do with me. You reap what you sow," I said, and set the bouquet I'd brought on the sunny windowsill. Chloe's blurred eyes stopped on it. "Everyone has their own field. Don't keep staring at my life. Maybe the person you need most is a psychologist. I hope we never meet again." On the way back, Ethan left with that familiar arrogant air. Ethan asked carefully, "Did you hear everything?" "Yes," I replied. Ethan looked a little tense. His palm was slightly damp with sweat. He reached for me, voice nervous. "Baby, you won't leave me, right?" I tapped his forehead lightly. "Of course I won't." "Why didn't you tell me sooner that you were that chubby kid back then? Ethan scratched his head. I had to keep my idol image, you know, pride and all that. Wow, such vanity. So a school heartthrob like you can't have any image? Seeing the proud line of his jaw made my chest ache for a moment. It turned out he'd become indifferent to life on the surface, taking the role of the school's tough guy to fight fate. He pulled me into a tight hug, his voice hoarse as he whispered into the hollow of my neck. Someone once told me no one is born to be sacrificed for another. I have my own life too. Baby, you saved me from that burning abyss a long time ago.